Welcome to the Sleep to Dream Analytics Explainer video, where better sleep starts with better understanding. Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're diving into one of the most tangled relationships in all of mental health, the deep, complex connection between depression and how we sleep. So let's start with the scale of this thing. Major depression isn't some rare condition. It affects at least 350 million people. That's made it the #1 cause of disability on the entire planet. But here's the thing, it almost never travels alone. You see, it has a constant companion, sleep disturbance. And that brings up this huge, critical question that we're going to try and unravel today. Is bad sleep just a consequence of depression, or could it actually be one of the things that's pulling the trigger? Okay, let's get into it. To really understand this, we've got to treat it like a mystery. So, let's start by introducing the two main players in our case, major depression and its ever-present associate, sleep disturbance. First off, let's be clear, major depression is not just about feeling sad for a day or two. It's a clinical diagnosis with a very specific checklist. And what's so fascinating is that sleep problems, either insomnia, not being able to sleep, or hypersomnia, sleeping way too much, are written right into the official definition. It's a core piece of the puzzle. And the impact is just staggering. Think about it. About 3/4 of people with depression have major sleep complaints. And get this, it's often one of the very first signs that something is wrong. This just goes to show how tangled up these two are, right from the very beginning. Okay, so every good investigation needs evidence. Let's look at what we've got. We'll start with the witness testimony, what people actually feel and report, and then compare that to the hard forensic analysis that comes out of sleep labs. And what's so incredible is how perfectly these two line up. People will say, I just can't fall asleep, or I wake up all the time, or I just feel exhausted even after a full night. And when scientists took them up to machines in a sleep study, the data shows exactly that. They can literally measure it. It takes longer to fall asleep, people spend more time awake during the night, and their sleep architecture, the actual pattern of sleep stages, is all out of whack. For example, REM sleep, that's our deep dreaming stage. It often shows up way too early in the night, which just throws the whole system off balance. Now, you might be thinking, great, a sleep test for depression. Well, not so fast. While these changes are really strong clues, they can show up in other conditions too. So we can't use them as a single definitive test, at least not yet. For decades, everyone thought this case was pretty simple. The cause and effect seemed obvious, but as we dug deeper, the evidence revealed a massive plot twist. The old school thinking was really straightforward. You're depressed, and because you're depressed, you can't sleep. The sleep problem was seen as just another unfortunate symptom, a side effect of the main illness. End of story. But then researchers started looking at huge groups of people over long periods of time. And as they sifted through all that data, a much more complicated and honestly a much more fascinating story started to emerge. And this right here is the heart of the plot twist. It turns out poor sleep isn't always just a symptom. A lot of the time, it's actually the opening act. It can be a major warning sign, a predictor that a depressive episode might be on the horizon. And the numbers? Wow, the numbers really tell the story. One huge study found that if you have persistent insomnia, your risk of developing depression can jump by over 6 times. But look at the flip side. If you have depression, your risk of developing insomnia also skyrockets. It's not a one-way street, it's a superhighway running in both directions. So the big question is, why? Why are these two so tightly connected? To figure that out, our investigation has to go deeper, down to the biological level, to find the shared masterminds pulling the strings behind the scenes. And scientists have basically zeroed in on at least 4 overlapping systems where things tend to go wrong in both depression and sleep disorders. First up, you've got neurotransmitters. You know those brain chemicals like serotonin that antidepressants focus on? Well, it turns out they also play a massive role in regulating our sleep cycles. So if they're out of balance, it's a double whammy for your mood and your sleep. Second, your body's stress response system can get stuck in the on position. It just keeps pumping out the stress hormone cortisol, which keeps you wired and on high alert, chopping your sleep up into little unrestful pieces. Third is this nasty, vicious cycle involving inflammation. We now know that depression is linked to chronic, low-grade inflammation. But guess what else causes inflammation? Not getting enough sleep. So one feeds the other, which then makes the first one worse, and around it goes. And finally, sometimes it's just in our genes. There are specific variations in our DNA and genes that control our internal body clock that can make a person more vulnerable to developing both insomnia and depression. Okay, so now that we understand this incredibly deep connection, how does that change things? How does it affect how we actually treat these conditions? This is where we bring the case to a close. The verdict from the experts is crystal clear. You have to treat both. You can't just focus on the depression and hope the sleep gets better. In fact, if insomnia sticks around even after someone's mood has improved, it's a huge red flag that the depression could come roaring back. That's why the best approaches often combine things, like using a powerful therapy for sleep called CBTI alongside medication. And it means being smart about which meds you use, because some can actually make sleep worse. Just handing someone a sleeping pill isn't going to cut it. And this really leaves us with a final and, I think, a really empowering thought. Understanding this link completely changes how we should think about sleep. It's not just some passive thing we do when we're tired. It's an active, powerful tool that we can use to build and protect our mental resilience. Thank you for watching the Sleep to Dream Analytics Explainer video. We hope you sleep well and dream easy.